Hello children, welcome to our Geography Lesson 5, Water. When do you think of water? What images come to your mind? Or where do you all see water? Do you see water in rivers, raindrops, the taps, or in the lake? Yes. Do you know when water on the ground evaporates due to the heat of the sun and the resulting water vapor moves up? When it is sufficiently rises up, it cools and condenses into clouds, and it comes down in the form of rain. And this continual movement of the same water is called water cycle. Now let us see the distribution of water bodies. As we all know that three-fourths of the Earth's surface is covered by water. If there is more water than land on this earth, why do so many countries face water scarcity? Is all the water on the earth available to us? Here we can see the distribution of water in percentage. More than 97.3 of water is in oceans, 0.20% is in locked in ice caps, 0.68% in groundwater, 0.009% is in freshwater lakes, 0.009% inland sea and salt lakes, 0.0019% is in atmosphere, and whereas 0.0001% is in rivers, lakes, ponds, well, etc. So this water distribution shows that we really have a very less water that can drink. I'll just give you an example. This activity, even you can do it at your end. Just take 2 liters of water that will represent, consider it as it represents the whole water available on the earth. And just remove 12 spoons, measure out 12 spoons of water from this vessel into the another bowl. Now the water that is left behind in the vessel represents the salty water found in oceans and seas. This water is obviously not fit for consuming as it is saline and contains salt. Whereas the 12 spoons of water that was taken in the bowl is the total amount of fresh water on earth. And this shows that the water, which is absolutely essential for survival to quench our thirst when we are thirsty, is very precious and should be used very carefully, right? Without wasting it. Let us see ocean circulation. There is something magical about walking bare feet on the seashore, the wet land on the beach, the cool breeze, seabirds. Everything there is so fascinating. And if you see the water, the surface of the ocean is never still. The movements that occur in the oceans can be broadly divided into waves, tides, and currents. And waves are nothing but the rise and fall of water. Ocean water is called waves. During a storm, wind blowing at a high speed form huge waves. A wave is an area of moving water that is raised above the main surface. Waves are formed when winds scrape across the ocean surface. The stronger the wind blows, the bigger the waves become. And do you know, when wind blows at high speed, waves can become huge and even destroy the life. This could also be because of volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and underwater landslides. And as a result, a huge tidal wave called tsunami that may be as high as 15 meters is formed, and the largest tsunami ever measured was 150-meter high. Waves travel at a speed of more than 700 km per hour. The tsunami that occurred in 2004 caused widespread damage in the coastal areas of India. The rhythmic rise and fall of ocean water twice in a day is called tide. If a what when water covers much of the shore by raising to its highest level, it is it is low tide when water falls to its lowest level and recedes from the shore. And tides are formed by rising and falling of the sea due to gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. Here you can see the first picture of low tide and the next of high tide, where water falls to its lowest level and recedes from the shore is low tide, and high tide is when water covers much of its shore is known as high tide. As we are learned about the tide, high tide and low tide, we also have to see what is spring tide and neap tide. As I've already told you, the strong gravitational pull of exerted by the sun and the moon on the earth's surface causes tide. The water of the earth closer to the moon gets pulled under the influence of the moon's gravitational force and causes high tide. During the full moon and the new moon days, the sun, moon, and the earth are in the same line. And these same line and the tides are highest because the gravitational pull. Here in this diagram, you can see that because the gravitational pull here, this is the moon, sun, and the earth. So, because of the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon is the highest, the tides are highest, and these tides are called as spring tide. Whereas moon, when moon is in its first and the last quarter, the ocean water gets drawn in diagonally opposite directions by the gravitational pull of sun and the moon, resulting the low tide. Tides are called neap tides. Ocean currents. Ocean currents are the stream water flowing constantly on the ocean surface in definite direction. The ocean currents may be warm or cold. Generally, the warm ocean currents originate near the equator and move towards the poles. The cold currents carry water from the polar or higher altitudes to tropical or lower latitudes. The Labrador Ocean Current is the cold current, while Gulf Stream is a warm current. The ocean current influences the temperature conditions of the area. Warm currents bring about warm temperature over land surface. The areas where the warm and cold current meet provides the best fishing grounds of the world. The seas around Japan and east coast of North America are the examples of such fishing grounds. The areas where the warm and cold current meet also experiences foggy weather, making it difficult for navigation. I, you all might have understood what is how water important to human beings, its distribution on the earth's surface, waves, low tide, high tide, and the spring tide and neap tide that occurred during full moon or new moon day and the quarter when the moon is in its quarter position. Whereas ocean currents, which flow from the equator towards the poles and the ocean currents flowing from poles towards the equator, respectively, are called warm currents and cold currents. So this was all about water and its important. Remember, water is very precious. Do use water very, very judiciously without wasting. Thank you. Have a nice day.